once again to Real Shame. It's a show where we talk about movies that we probably should have seen, haven't seen, but we're fixing that. And we're especially festive today because we're in the month of December and we're reviewing some holiday movies this week. And so just to remind everyone, we're doing a little bit of format change on our Monday episodes. So we're going to go immediately into our featured review. And it's a movie that I haven't seen, and it's a movie called
Rare Exports.
Ooh.
Something is buried in the mountain, or fell as they call them, or fjall, which just means mountain, of Korvantunturi on the border of Finland and Russia. And a research team is about to dig it up. Meanwhile, a little boy who lives with his single father has done some research of his own and believes that what the team has found is Santa Claus in Rare Exports.
Se hengittää. Sitkeä ukko. Mitä se teki? Se vainoaa jotain. Pietari.
So Rare Exports was written and directed by Jalmari Helander. It comes from the land of Finland. I don't know that I've seen that many
This is the land of ice and snow.
Finnish films. Yeah, come from the land of the ice and snow. I'm not going to list the cast, except for I will list the little boy, Pietari. Pietari is played by Ani Tamila, and I mention him because the guy that plays his father in the movie is his father in real life, Jorma Tamila. He plays Rauno. I don't know I'm butchering all these names. Pietari and his father Rauno, and apparently, at least according to Wikipedia, if it's accurate, Jalmari Helander, the writer and director, is the little boy's uncle in real life.
Oh,
On his mother's side, he is his mother's brother. Only Tamila's mother's brother. There we go. Yeah, so it's like Sly and the Family Stone. It's a family affair. So this is a movie that I have seen one time before. I remember when it came out, it made kind of a big deal. Obviously, kind of an international splash. But it is currently on Hulu. If you have not seen it, but if you've not seen it, don't watch this episode. At least not yet, because we'll probably spoil some of it. But it's a movie you've never seen before.
that's right. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Okay, so you have heard of it before.
Yeah, I think like you said, I think when it came out, it kind of was it was made a big splash, right?
Yeah.
I think that's accurate. I think it was just surprising and different than what you're usually getting from a current holiday fare, and
Right.
so I remember that. I also thought it was a movie about what's the thing that goes around and takes young children?
Krampus.
Krampus. I thought it was a Krampus movie, but it's not.
I think it is a little similar.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I expected like a Krampus to be like I seem to remember like the box art being like of a crate or something being in a crate, and I thought that was a Krampus, but maybe I'm thinking of like a different horror themed Christmas movie.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I saw it once before, and it was around the time it came out, and I honestly didn't remember a lot about the movie, except for a bunch of naked old men, because that's a very jarring memory for me.
It's a very big part of the movie too.
Yeah, but I honestly didn't remember a whole lot kind of about the plot. But so you'd never seen it before, you were familiar with it, or at least box art or whatever. Yeah. So what'd you think?
I think I like the idea and the premise of it. I think that's really interesting. I think the whole movie is just really slow. Like there's not a lot of action going. There's action, but it's not like, it doesn't feel like it's, like it has like a pace to it or anything like that. And it just feels like it's just still like meandering, even though all this craziness is happening right there. So that kind of threw me off a little bit, just how slow the movie actually was, or how it felt while watching it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just felt like there was I feel like the idea doesn't support a feature-length movie. It just felt like they were like just trying to find ways to fill it out, and it felt like it just wasn't really fully realizing the idea. And I just felt like ultimately it probably would have been better as like a short film.
Yeah.
I think like it's like, it's this issue. I feel like whenever they try to take an SNL skit and make it feature length, it's just sometimes you're like, oh, this would work. This doesn't work very good for 90 minutes. Like it's something about it being shorter just makes it kind of. I think you said the same thing about like Lights Out and stuff like that, where like maybe not. Where it's like it's shorter, it's more condensed, just it hits you more than whenever they're kind of like expanding to feature length. So that's kind of where I fell on it. Think it's a cool, interesting premise. It's something outside of the normal things that we watch for holidays, which I can appreciate. But ultimately, the pace was slower than I would have wanted for a movie like this, and maybe probably would have been better, honestly, as a short film.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I fell on it watching the first time. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. So you said you've seen it once before. Did you remember liking it, and what'd you think about it this time around?
I don't remember. I don't remember what I thought of it the first time I saw it. I think I just thought it was kind of weird. And I remember a bunch of naked old men running around. That's about it. So watching it this time, I agree with you. I mean, I think it is pretty slow. I kept waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the movie, when it was over, I think the movie, I think it is definitely worth seeing because, as you said, it's so out of the norm kind of for a Christmas type movie. So I think that people should watch it just because it's not the standard Christmas fare. But yeah, I'm not super high on the movie either. I might be a little bit warmer on it than you are, but I tend to agree with most of what you said. I mean, I think that the idea there is really cool. My biggest gripes with the movie is, I mean, yes, I would like it to be a little bit faster paced, but I would like for the movie to be more dark, like darker, and more gory.
Just like so you wanted more horror.
Yeah, because I was reading after I watched it this time some of the reviews that other people have said about it, and there were several comparisons to The Thing, which I think is somewhat appropriate just because, well, they unearthed this thing, right? And you've got this, whatever. At least in that respect alone.
No, I totally hear you. I'm just... It is
so I was like, well,
the tones are so different.
Let's go all out like gore, because you do see the one guy get like an axe to the head.
Yeah.
And I thought that's cool, So I wanted some more of that stuff. You get the feeling that these, because so basically what happens, and again, please watch it if you don't want it spoiled. But basically what happens is that what they find in the mountain, it is Santa Claus. They do unearth this giant block of ice, which has two horns pulling out. And the reason why, because as the kid kind of researches it, apparently the idea of Santa Claus originally started as, I wrote this down, Yolapuki, which means like Yule goat or Christmas goat, again, according to Wikipedia. But it's basically
Christmas chupacabra.
Pagan Santa Claus kind of. That wore red, but didn't wear like the red Santa suit that we know nowadays. And of course, over time, that image kind of morphed into Santa Claus. And even the little boy in the movie says it's not the Coca-Cola Santa Claus. This is like the goat horn Santa Claus. And you see this big block of ice, and you just see these two goat horns sticking out. So you don't ever actually get to see Santa, which is kind of a letdown to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But what they think is Santa Claus at first, it's just this old man that basically falls into a trap. It's basically just one of the elves or one of Santa's helpers, but they all are these like kind of naked old men that are basically Santa's elves, and they end up blowing up Santa Claus in the ice. They stick a bunch of sticks of dynamite in there and blow it up, and then they, from that point on, are going to take those, because now that Santa's gone, those naked old men have nothing to do.
No master.
Right, they have no master, so now they're going to ship them out and train them to be Santa Clauses.
Which I think is
a cool idea. It's a very cool idea.
Also works like...
But... yeah, I wish that the movie was darker and was a little more just all out kind of gory. Let's go full thing on it, right? Let's do that. So I thought that was cool. Also, the old Santa elves kind of thing, because I do love that part where they've got him captured basically because he fell into their trap. They've got him captured in like this slaughterhouse kind of area where they cut up meat. And the little boy comes in and he's like, that's Santa Claus, and the guy like kind of looks at him because the boy's been bad because he and his friend like cut a hole in the fence and we're spying on the research team and everything else. So again, there's a lot of good ideas in it, and the story itself is a good idea. It just needs to be, to me and to you, faster paced, and I think more gory and a little darker tone.
No, I 100% agree with what you just said, and I think you won me over with that. because I do say like I feel like it's pulling its punches a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not like it can go. I think the movie tries to straddle so many different things. It just kind of comes off as just being diluted and weak. But if it kind of leaned into the comedy aspect more, if it tried to lean into the family aspect more, tried to lean into the horror aspect more, which I think I'm with you on that, it would have been a far better movie rather than this kind of, just diluted kind of interesting idea. So I 100% agree. I think it does definitely pulls punches on it.
Yeah, but as it stands, I think the movie is worth seeing. Again, if you have Hulu, you can watch it, at least right now. You can watch it in the month of December.
Yeah.
Whatever. So check it out. But yeah, it's very cool idea. Just could have been better.
Agree.
So we say. But this was so Hjalmari Helander that wrote and directed this. He actually had done 2 short films prior to this. Rare Exports Incorporated and Rare Exports, the official safety instructions from 2003 and 2005, respectively. And those are both like 10 minutes or less. They're both on YouTube. I
haven't seen them.
Yeah, I watched them both. I mean, they're basically they kind of took seeds from those short films and made it into this feature film. So check those out if you would like. The movie is 90% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. 70% audience score. Roger Ebert loved this movie. He gave it 3.5 stars. And I didn't find a Leonard Maltin review of it. So sorry about that.
All right. Well, that was Rare Exports. Now on our Monday episodes, we're following our feature review with what we've been watching. And please stay with us as we get used to changing gears.
Yeah. I remember this time to put them down on the bottom instead of at the top.
It feels like we're downshifting a little bit on this. Right. So, Andy, what have you watched this week?
All right. So, I watched something that I watch every Thanksgiving and that we did for our Thanksgiving episode in 2020. I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I love that movie. Such a great comedy. Never gets old to me. So, that's a winner in my book and in my house. And then I watched something that just came out on Disney Plus.
That's right.
That I know you watched as well, so we can have some overlap and talk about it. But it is Peter Jackson's Get Back. Part 1, 2, and 3. And it's very long.
Yes, it is. It is like 2.5 hour, 3 hour episodes.
Yeah, it's very long. But I mean,
what are your overall thoughts about it?
I'm a big Beatles fan. We both watched the McCartney 3-2-1. So
which was really good.
Despite the fact that Get Back is really long. I mean, I'm not going to say I was riveted the whole time because a lot of it, it's just kind of them arguing or kind of tinkering around, being silly in the studio. But I think it's just fascinating to see the Beatles do their thing. It's really, really cool, I think, to see, especially because I've been listening to the Beatles music my whole life. So I'm very familiar with Abbey Road and Let It Be and the songs that come off of those albums. So to hear like the genesis of those songs, the seeds of those songs, to hear them kind of, I'm working on this, this, do you think it should be this line or this line? Because now we know what it is. It's just really, really cool seeing that because they were just so talented. I mean, ridiculously talented. And I will say, I've always loved Paul McCartney. He does come across as a bit annoying in this, just because he's very focused and he has a vision. And sometimes it's hard to rein some of those other guys in. John's kind of messing around a lot, and he's got Yoko basically
next to him,
stapled
the whole time.
To him,
closer to him than I am to you.
Yeah, so and I think I see where Paul was coming from, but I did find him a little bit annoying at times. But I think about it, and I think if I was in a band like with the Beatles, I would probably be the Paul McCartney character. I'd probably be getting on everybody's nerves because I'd be like, "No, we should do it this way. No, we should do it this way." And people would be like, "Shut up, Andy. Get out of here."
So I have less familiar. I obviously like the Beatles, grew up with the Beatles. I don't know like what albums different songs come from. Like I had the Beatles #1 album that when that came out on CDs, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and listened to that. So I know their songs like through the zeitgeist and through popular culture, but I can't tell you like what shows up on a Revolver versus Rubber Soul versus Abbey Road, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I'm like you. I find the movie really interesting because I like the process of it, right? I like seeing what there are in the studio trying to figure things out and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's like a perfect encapsulation of what's going on. because I've been listening to like a lot of producers and other Beatle maniacs, I guess, talk about things that are maybe missing or that they kind of cover over a little bit on there with it. So I don't think it's like a accurate full view of what all went on. Did you ever watch Let It Be, the original documentary that came out on it?
Long time ago. Very long time ago.
So I've never seen Let It Be, so I'm not sure how that is different. I hear from what I hear from those guys is that basically, it ends with George Harrison leaving the band, that documentary, and it kind of makes a bigger ordeal out of it than you kind of get from, Get Back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wish... I feel like Peter Jackson, the director of Lord of the Rings and writer of Lord of the Rings, who put this together, I feel like he tried to split the difference between doing like a series and doing like a feature-length documentary, and I think it would have been better if it was either of the other two.
Yeah.
Like I would have liked it better if it was a 2-hour documentary that was maybe more more titles telling us what's going on, but being more story focused with a bunch of supplementary stuff, or like let's take like each day and turn it into like a whole movie about the day kind of stuff like that. Like I think either of those would have been a little bit better, because for this one it just feels like it's a weird mishmash. Like you really don't get like, it feels like they're trying to build something, and they are kind of building something, but it doesn't feel like the whole series kind of builds towards something to me. You know what I mean? It just more feels like we're like a fly on the wall kind of stuff. And
yeah,
so for me,
I'm okay with that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it interesting, like from like but I don't know. For me, it's not like as a narrative piece. I think if it was about any other band, it wouldn't be as interesting, right?
Yeah,
because
totally.
But so like it doesn't stand by itself narratively. It's just that it's about this band that is so interesting. But if it's about Big Star or like another Leonard Skinner, another big band, I don't think we would find it as fascinating as we do because it's about the Beatles, right?
No.
So I think that's where it kind of leaves me cold narratively a little bit, if that makes any sense.
It does, but I mean, again, like you say, it's the Beatles, so you could put out a 27-hour documentary of the Beatles just in the studio, and I would watch it. I would find time to watch it just because it is the Beatles, and I just am fascinated by them, what they do, their process, how they get through these songs, their arguments, their jokes, their whatever, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you couldn't get away with this if it was any other band. I wouldn't think. And maybe the Rolling Stones or somebody, but
and from what I hear, like the whole time they're doing that, they're practicing these songs, right? But the movie doesn't really show you like. Well, I feel like it doesn't really didn't do a good job for me of showing like every iteration of the song, of each of the songs going through. Like I think Get Back, we get the seeds of it from the very beginning at the studio to whenever they perform it, but we don't get that with all the songs like Dick a Pony or Across the Universe or all that kind of stuff. I just feel like we only get it with one song, and I wish we got that with all the songs from the album rather than just one, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what all footage or audio they had to work with. So,
and the other last thing that I found confusing, being like a kind of like a not a die in the like a Beatles fan, but not a big Beatles fan, is every time they would perform a song, it would tell you like the song name and the writers of the song, whether it's a cover or one they did. But I felt like sometimes they would be noodling or doing like a silly song that I'm not sure ever shows up in an album. And I find that him showing the title for like the silly song it like threw me off, because I'm like, is this going to be something like that they put out like 2 albums from now?
I mean, do they have to do that legally? Like if they play,
I don't know.
Well, because I know if you're on, reality TV show and you start singing something, you can't sing more than just a few seconds of it without paying some kind of royalties or whatever.
But I feel like John's
I just figured that was like a legal thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like John's like banging on the piano and he's like singing random lyrics like, "Oh, this is my umbrella made from bananas," and then on the screen it says "banana umbrella." Lennon, and it's like but that's never a published song. Like I can get like noodling.
Maybe it is though. I don't know. I don't know.
So
I just assumed it was some legal thing that they had to do.
That was the big thing that like really threw me off, because like some of it was like songs that would appear later on, or they were covers, but some of it I'm like, I'm sure this is just them just messing around on the.
I think,
you know what I mean?
Because I think so. Like Kicking and Screaming, which we've done on the show and which I love. There's a part in that movie where Chris Eigenmann's character sings just like a song that he's kind of making up on the spot, and I swear on IMDb he's like credited as a performer in that movie. I think so. I believe so. Right. And I don't know if that's just something they have to do, like for legal reasons or what. But yeah, no. I mean, I understand your question, but I just assumed it was some kind of legal thing. I don't know.
But I don't know. But I think ultimately I fall back on your thing. What you're saying is, and I don't know, this is not your feeling, but this is what you were saying, is that because it's the Beatles, it's infinitely fascinating. Yeah. And it's actually something I want to watch again, because I know I've missed a whole lot in watching it. You know, the first time, there's a lot of things that just kind of, you know, you don't catch everything the first time you watch something. I think that's true of everyone who watches movies. So there's some stuff that I probably didn't quite sink in when I was watching that I kind of want to catch the second round around, because I'm seeing like clips on YouTube show up of different scenes and stuff like that. Yeah. And like, you know, Paul's reaction when he realizes George has quit the band, and it might just be like him and, you know, and then, you know, John Lennon's not there, so it might just be him and Ringo. Like and it like stays on his face for almost a minute. Yeah. And you can see him like working through that math, you know? And that stuff, like, obviously I watched it when I watched it.
Like 4 minus 1 is, what is it now?
Yeah, 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. And it's stuff that, like, obviously I watched when I watched it, but it's not something I really stuck out to me. But in watching that clip, I was like, oh man, that's really crazy. So I'm going to watch it again. And also I want some bonus features, because I want to spend more time watching these guys, just like, because they just make magic happen. Yeah. And they basically walked in, Jesus booked studio time. They didn't really have anything written, and they wrote an album in like a month, which is insane. It's crazy talk, but they're the Beatles. That's what they did. So,
and I think it's cool. Just like Peter Sellers comes in at one point because he's going to film The Magic Christian with Ringo Starr. You know, obviously Billy Preston comes in and joins them.
Billy Preston to me stands out in this series. Like he's the one that I just immediately like. He's a standout for me, because he just, as soon as he walks in, like the whole tone of the sessions change, everything, the songs start coming together. Yeah. Like he's a rock star.
Super talented.
He's super talented. It's just, for me, that's the thing that stuck out the most. But go on.
Alan Parsons is like their tape operator.
Alan Parsons Project.
That's right. Alan Parsons of the Alan Parsons Project. And then I feel like there's somebody else. Maybe there's not somebody.
We got Glenn Jones, who produced a bunch of the Rolling Stones before this.
Right.
And then we get to see
you see a little bit of Neil Aspinall, who's involved with the Beatles for a long time. Obviously, you see George Martin quite a bit. But it's very, very cool.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. It's very interesting. Again, I will take a little bit away from it, because I don't think it stands on its own. So without the heft of the Beatles, but you know, I'm glad we have it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. I mean, if it's anybody else, they're not going to do something like this. But I tell you one thing that I also really enjoyed about it is I've seen the rooftop concert plenty of times and snippets of it and everything else. But all of that footage of the policemen coming in to the lobby, I've never seen any of that stuff. So that was so awesome. Seeing that, and I just thought it was funny.
They didn't even see like the box with the camera guy behind it and stuff.
Well, I just thought it was funny because you could tell they're irritated, but they're still pretty polite. They're like, well, you know, I mean, we're gonna have to start arresting people. I mean, we don't want to do it, but there it is. I mean, you know, we've got tons of complaints, 5 or 6 complaints in the last 30 minutes and everything. I would have been like, I'm going up to the roof right now and pulling the plug. You know, I would have had no patience.
Oh, I would have gone up to the roof and just watched. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's like a once in a lifetime thing.
No, I agree with you there.
I like how one of the police officers, like, you know, they have their chin strapped like right here, and he starts playing with it with his mouth. Like, that's such like a human thing to do. Right. Like, you're like, this guy's a professional that wears it. Like, it's something I would be doing, like, put it on and be like, oh, chewing on and stuff. Hey, you guys. And I like how, like, their sergeant or whatever, like, totally no nonsense. He walks in, he's like, do I have 2 guys? Like, where are my 2 police officers? They're like, he's on the roof. And he's like, can I go on the roof? They're like, yeah. He's like,
Okay.
okay. It's like totally no nonsense, all this stuff.
Yep.
And then they like turn off the amp. And then like, I think George Harrison's like, oh, my amp's off. And George Harrison just walks over, turns it back on and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
And
no, it's really cool.
It's the other interesting thing that we're probably going on way too long for this, but whatever. Is like some of the cool, really good guitar lines and solos are written by John Lennon, which is really surprising because you have George Harrison, who's such a known as the guitarist and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's more reserved. Like he has to sit on something and work on something, and he's not like someone who's like can just be there and just noodle and figure something out like John Lennon can do, which is it's just interesting. Like I never thought about it in that way. It's an interesting way to kind of see them through that kind of lens in my book,
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Alrighty.
Well, that is everything that we've been watching with Get It Back and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
And Rare Exports. All right, so you picked Rare Exports. What kind of movie did you decide to pair this with?
So I figure Rare Exports has a somewhat unconventional view of Santa Claus, even though you don't actually see Santa Claus. You just see his horns sticking out of some ice, but still, you get the picture. I thought I would pair that with another movie that has kind of an unconventional depiction of Santa, and it's a more recent movie. It actually just came out in 2020. It stars Mr. Mel Gibson as Kris Kringle, and it's called Fat Man.
All right. Well, stay tuned Wednesday when we find out if we like Fat Man or not. If he needs to go meet Jenny, or if we like him the way he is. Please like, subscribe, share the show, do all that social media stuff. It really does help spread the word. We answer viewer questions that are sent to us either as a comment on YouTube below or sent to our email address, which is realshame@gmail.com. Also, we're on Instagram @willshame. I said this last time, I'll say it again. I'm starting to post on the weekends before what movies we're reviewing for that week. So if you want to watch the episode when they get released and not have to wait, you have that resource to look at so you kind of know what's coming up for the week. And what else do I say? Thank you for watching. Stay tuned in a few days when we see how Mel Gibson does as the Fat Man. And we'll see you soon, guys. Bye.